Hello viewers, this is your Youth Dialogue Show on the United Nations 75th year anniversary. I'm your moderator, Momodu Lamin Age Al-Musaf Sow. And let me introduce my panelists. From my right, you have Jenaba Toure, who is representing the National Poetry Slam. Jenaba, can you introduce yourself? Can you say hello to them?
Hello, I am Jenaba Toure. I am 21 years old and I am a finalist from Poetry Slam.
And to my left, I have Omar Champion Cham.
Thank you so much. Greetings, everyone. My name is Omar Champion Cham, the coordinator of the National Poetry Slam. Glad to be here.
And next to Omar, we have Fatoumata A. Jallo. Fatoumata, can you?
Hello, viewers. I am Fatoumata A. Jallo, the Vice President of the University of the Gambia Debate Association, and a poet as well.
Thank you very much, and these are my panelists. And later we'll be joined by Chorno Gay, who is also with us, and he will be presenting the poem on the theme UN75. Just to remind you that the United Nations is 75th year this year, and then in marking or in commemoration of the UN celebration worldwide, we're starting a national conversation in the Gambia in order to motivate young people to also fizzle out their prodigious energies, because every nation relies on the strength and productive versatility of her youth in championing socio-economic and political advancement. It is quite fundamental, therefore, to reach out to young people, to colleagues in the hinterland of the country, to also take part, to join the dialogue in order to have or create the Gambia we want to see in 2045. So this year's theme is the Gambia we want in 2045. And as a result, the UN Gambia office, in partnership with the National Center for Arts and Culture, launched a poll. Very recently, we concluded the voting, and it was absolutely incredible. We had people responded to our survey online by typing the word join, J-O-I-N, and send to 1234, and the responses, the feedback from the general public was really impressive. In the meantime, we also thought it is very fundamental to discuss issues related to youth and what we can do to improve our nation. And I will allow Omar Champion Cham to talk to you about the online poetry competition and how you can take part in the competition. Yes, Omar, would you like if you say something about this?
Thank you so much, Mohamed Lamin. And I'm definitely so excited to speak on that. So you understand that when issues like this come up, when you're supposed to celebrate an event, when you're supposed to take time to actually show some level of gratitude on how far we've gone, or to actually engage ourselves into attaining goals or dreams or visions, there are different approaches that have been taken. And this year things have turned different, because you understand that poetry, especially spoken word in the Gambia, has taken a new shape. The bar has been raised so high, and it has received a high level of respect, a high level of value, as well as a high level of appreciation. So this time around, poetry has been used as an avenue, a tool and a medium in commemorating the UN75. How? That is by the UN themselves, in partnership with the National Center for Arts and Culture and the Writers Association of the Gambia, bringing in a competition that would give the opportunity to poets and painters to actually use their various craft to be able to celebrate this day. So what is going to happen is applications have been opened for poets to actually apply, to the competition by recording a 2-minute video on the theme, the Gambia we want to see. So if the Gambia want to see in 2045. After recording this, then you can send your application through a Google form, which has been published on the Writers Association of the Gambia Facebook page. You can check it out, Writers Association of the Gambia on Facebook, and you will see the Google link, and you can send your applications through that. When that happens, then on the 15th September, which is going to be the deadline, assessment would begin, and on the 21st September, by the grace of the Lord, you will be able to actually hold the ceremony to award the prizes to the winners. So a winner, the first winner will actually go home with $12,000. The first runner-up would go home with $10,000, and the second runner-up would go home with $5,000. Equally, for the painting category, you're allowed to do your painting on the Gambia want to see in 2045, because the art is actually a tool to be able to express a lot of things, in very few minutes and with also very few materials. So you can paint the Gambia you want to see in 2045 by using pen on paper, crayon on paper, or pencil on paper. You can also be as creative as possible as far as the painting is concerned, and then submit such a painting to the National Center of Arts and Culture in Banjul. So that is basically the main information regarding this competition. And we are calling on all the poets there, all the painters, to come on board and take ownership of this competition, to know that if we are celebrating this particular year, if we are to pursue a particular Gambia we want to see, it means we the young people should be at the forefront. And if we're using the art as a tool, it means we're even making it more interesting and more communicative and more interactive. So this is what we have for you for now. And feel free to always send in your questions on the various social media platforms, and we'll respond to you as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Omar. Sacrilegiously speaking, you have definitely highlighted everything, and it is very fundamental. We remind the young people in this country that they are definitely part of this celebration, because young people in the Gambia are raising a clarion call. This is not only in fishing, farming, and sports, but also literature and poetry is very important. And because the Gambia, our country, have earned the respect and admiration in the world for its peace and hospitality, and more so, our concern over youth participation is yielding wonderful results, as the community is indeed and in truth responding to the clarion call and the partnership and effective participation of young people to transform the juggling discourse of our country into a beautiful synonym of brotherhood. Fatoumata, it is very fundamental to also note that women are part of this celebration. And as Umar has highlighted, we've seen young women who are also doing spoken word poetry, and they are very, crucial in this celebration, because they have a key role to play as activists to also ensure that their colleagues take part in the competition. What do you actually have to tell your colleagues who are watching you?
Well, like you mentioned, women are the backbone of every nation. And then the theme for this is celebration is the Gambia we want to see in 2045. And if anybody is as important to be in the forefront, I think women should be there. And we've seen in the past, we had only a few good spoken word artists that are men, and then you had only a few women under them. But right now we've seen that women are coming up, and then they're making changes when it comes to poetry, when it comes to painting, and when it comes to different forms of arts. And we believe the last online spoken word challenge, we've seen a lot of women come up, and then they've submitted very good submissions. And this time around, we actually want to see more women coming on board, bringing in their thoughts, the things that they think that the government need to have in 2045, and then make sure, they dominate this. And I'm sure come this championship, women are going to win. I am assuring you that.
And it is quite good to know that even in the online poetry challenge you just gave reference to, we had far more female participants than even the male participants.
Exactly.
Like when we were trying to collate, the gender equality and equity standards, we were able to discover that we had more female participants. And take it for free from me, even right now, if we were to put up a sum of the total number of Gambian poets, or Gambian spoken word poets, we'll have more ladies than men actually. So I'm so glad that women are really kind of dominating in that area.
Excellent.
The future is bright.
Yeah, sure.
So moving to you quickly, Janaba, we have seen that you've been a very unique face in this country when it comes to spoken word poetry, citing last year's national spoken word, competition, the slam you participated, and that thing you did on stage was incredibly pernicious. I really like it. So what would you like to tell your colleagues in the provinces watching you, and how they can also take part? Because we notice that everything's been centralized here. It's also very fundamental to include them, because they're part of this celebration. They also need to join the conversation to take part in the Gambia we want to see in 2045. What's your take on this?
Looking from the perspective we've had so far, it seems the more people we have joining poetry, the better it gets. Because people from outside, as slowly and gradually, people are trying to get into poetry more than we know than before. Especially in the rural areas. They see you on TV or you write something, they want to be you. They want to see what you can do. How did you get there? It amazes them. So what we can do right now is strive harder, write better, and then the more we can put it out to them in a good way, the better it is for them. As we may say, there are a lot of men writing, the same way there are a lot of women writing too. Everybody has a passion. And with poetry, it lives in you. Some people can rise up someday and sing or dance or do different things. But poetry lives. It talks about different things. It touches every part of your life. So the people from the rural areas, they see us, and I remember there was a guy, he came up to me and said, you people should build groups, organizations. You should come over to schools and come to the rural areas and sensitize them. Tell them poetry is not boring. It's not something you can just look at and ignore. No, it's more than that. It's life. So I think if we generalize it and then make sure everybody else gets to it, it can be easier that way.
Thank you very much, Jenaba. And before we actually come to the panel of judges, it's very important we also talk about these celebrations here in the Gambia, because this is a global celebration. The countries as diverse as Cameroon and then Nigeria, Niger Republic, Burkina Faso, etc. We have seen a different, facet when it comes to how it has been celebrated there. But in the Gambia here, we choose to do spoken word poetry and also painting, because we think the Gambia we want to see in 2045 is not only the Gambia of, the new Gambia we spoke about, but also the Gambia of arts and culture, a Gambia of writers, a Gambia of spoken word artists, the Gambia of actually UN workers. So let's talk about the United Nations. They've been very helpful, and they are definitely pioneering this thing. And you can see 2020 and beyond, the world we want to see. We want to take part in shaping the futures, the destinies of people who have contributed immensely towards the socio-economic development of nations. And here in the Gambia, when it comes to spoken word poetry, Omar Champion Cham has been known to be very renowned, and because he as the pioneer of the national poetry slam, he has successfully inspired thousands of people who are now doing spoken word poetry. So there must be a rigid yardstick to be used, to ascertain what the panel of judges will be looking forward to seeing. So let's discuss the nitty-gritties that must be met when it comes to, issues directly connected to this, Umar. Because, you and I, and they were participants, we joined the national online, spoken word challenge organized by EU and YEP. We have seen the number of applications we have received from here. The combo and the provinces was very limited, although women participated a lot, and we have also had some lapses. So Umar, would you like to emphasize on this? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mulabin. And I just want to put it out there very clearly that it is not possible to effectively and sufficiently, and satisfactorily judge poetry. That is because of how creative the art of poetry is, and how people's opinion can differ when it comes to poetry, and based on how the delivery was done and all of that. So it's a whole capsulation of what perspectives you're looking at as a judge, or what you're expecting from the poet exactly. So if you actually put into consideration how you judge a performance on stage and how you judge a video contest, is going to be totally different, because the level of deliveries are different, and the stage presence is also different. And if you were to put up a bar as to which one should actually take a higher criteria and so on, you'll not be able to strike a balance. But specifically, if you were to judge the online poetry challenge, just like what we did with our previous competition, what we look at is the content of your poem. How relevant is it to the theme? How much communicative is it? How much have you spoken on the theme? And how were you able to talk to the people who may have never heard of what you've spoken about, but you'll be able to digest it in a very satisfactory manner. You also look at your mood in the poem. You look at your delivery styles. You look at your eye contact in the video, your body language, etc. So it actually contains a lot of things, but then at the end of the day also, we judge by the way we feel about your poetry. Because even if you have a good content, but you're doing poetry and you're not able to make people feel a certain way, then it means a lot of the objectives have not been met. Because poetry is something that doesn't only speak to the mind, but it speaks to the heart as well. That is why it's been regarded as one of the most effective tools as far as communication is concerned. Because you pick words from your heart and send it to the heart. And when the heart is given the required information, it is evenly distributed among all the organs in the body. And if you talk of the United Nations, for example, with all the great works they've been doing, you also understand that even if there's a decentralization of perspectives and decentralization of engagement, the art is one of the most important areas to look into. So it's great that the table is about to turn, or even if the table is not turning, but the table is actually twisting in a manner that it will reach all the chairs that are actually around it. So having the art and poetry itself as a mode or as a method of celebrating this is a very great thing, because you would definitely understand that though we appreciate speeches and seminars and conferences and so on, but the impact that poetry has on people is way bigger than all of these speeches. Because once poetry is being communicated to you, it lives with you forever, and you can never ever forget the memories.
Thank you very much, Omar Champion Cham, and you remind me something. I've been reminded already, because it's important we talk about that. You know, since post-independence, the Gambia as a country, when it comes to developmental issues, we always focus, we tend to have an oversight, because arts and culture is always left behind. Now, it used to be, we used to have Ministry of Education and Culture, Social Welfare and Culture. Presently, we have Ministry of Tourism and Culture. So, culture has always been a second priority, and culture. Nobody is saying the Gambia is not one of the best tourist destinations in Africa. Yes, it is, of course. That is very significant. But also, culture is very important. And this is why the Gambia we want to see in 2045 is the Gambia of arts and culture. Spoken word poetry, what else? Writing, music, theater. They are all under the arts and culture sector. And this particular sector has the ability to employ thousands, if not millions, of Gambian citizens. Gambians are blessed with inexplicable gift. We are highly talented. Just like in the words of Senegalese rapper Dip Doundou, he said, yen demb ngeen takk tey ji may takk di fay directeur bu doon dakke tey ji da ñàkk liggéey. You know, and Umar will be giving us more acapellas. So I just want to show you that here we have a lot of people who are doing this. But now let's come to the issues directly connected to the National Center on Arts and Culture, for Arts and Culture, who definitely happen to be the pioneers of this with the Writers Association of the Gambia. Why do we think the team is important to have the Gambia we want to see in 2045? Why? Because those watching us, our colleagues in the provinces, etc., might not understand how will they craft their videos. And the point, maximum 2 minutes, right? Yes. And they might not understand what exactly we want them to bring, on board. So it's very vital we clear that particular, portion by talking about what exactly will be our expectation. Already Omar has, highlighted or spoken about some of the things the panel of judges will be looking forward to see. Now the team, the Gambia we want to see in 2045. Jenaba, what Gambia do we want to see in 2045?
In the first place, I would say, I want to see a Gambia where we are all billionaires.
A Gambia where we all eat fish.
We are all billionaires.
I am telling you.
But it first begins with work, because every successful person or individual you see starts from somewhere. You don't just wake up one morning and then get everything done. No, you need to work. And the main reason why a lot of places or developed countries have been moving forward the same way, they've worked a lot. The Gambia is working, but we need more. We need to make sure we are developed from inside, society, political, religious, everything. And the Gambia we want to see is a Gambia where everything is perfect, where even if not close, but at least there, where we can have affordable bills, where we can have affordable stations, everything is good, where education is top, where we can educate our children and get it all done and right, where politics doesn't have to stand in our way, where we can speak and make sure everyone else who is behind or in front of is given the opportunity to live in and feel free. I want to live in the Gambia where I have to wake up in the morning and not worry if I'm going to eat or my family will eat or not. I don't want to suffer or pass by and see a beggar lying down there. I want all of us to be up there. So, yeah.
Jennifer Toure, thank you very much for that wonderful contribution. And Jennifer has spoken about the Gambia she really loves to see in 2045. Fatmata, what Gambia would you like to see for 2045? I remember Vision 2020. We are in 2020, right? So what Gambia do we want to see in 2045?
Seriously, we don't want to have dreams or goals. We want to see strict visions where we actually walk towards them and not just pronounce or put them there in the air for people to see. To be honest, we have only 2 million people or even less as a country. And then to develop the Gambia, it should not be a big deal compared to other countries that we had independence with. Countries like Singapore, right now they're in next level. And for us, we're still stagnant because we have a whole lot of issues in our institutions, in our society, everywhere actually caging us. So the first thing I want to see is a Gambia that would actually embrace agriculture, agricultural mechanism, where we use the climate. We have a very favorable climate. We also have a very good soil, where we can actually, grow and eat for the rest of our lives. But we're not making use of that. Everybody wants to wear a suit and then go to the office and then earn something at the end of the month. But when you go to Singapore, you go to other countries, they grow what they eat, and then sometimes they would actually not even import 30% of what they would eat in their countries. But in the Gambia, we import. All the things we eat, we import. All the clothes we wear, we import. So we have less things that we produce in the Gambia. And then you would come to realize that when we produce less, we don't have foreign exchange. So we depend on other people's products. So I want to see a Gambia where our standards of living would be raised. And then when it comes to our health sector, you will come to realize that we had more cases this year within this month because our health sector is panicked. It is broken compared to other countries. If we had, a very sophisticated or a very cool health sector, you would come to realize that we wouldn't have these high cases. So, we need to have very good doctors that would actually work in very good labs and a very good environment where we would be actually, ready when it comes to emergencies as well. And then I've spoken about health and agriculture, and then education as well. When we say we have free education where people can go and learn, we want to have standard education. The quantity is important, but the quality is also important. We want to see the Gambia harvest Einsteins. We want to see a Gambia harvest Bill Gates, and that can only happen if we actually focus on developing our education system. So these are probably the 3 strongest areas that we can actually invest in, pump in our human resources, our finance to make sure we see the Gambia we want to see in 2045.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, Fatoumata A. Jallow. That was an immense contribution. I really appreciate that. And having spoken about education, you see, the system of education that's been in existence in the country from post-independence actually focus on academics, not vocational skill education.
Exactly.
And Gambians are skillful. What we are doing, poetry is an art, it's a craft, it's skill. You know what I mean? So this is why we taught our students to pass exams and then go into the workforce directly. We all want to sit inside offices, and we don't want to utilize the talent we have or God-given potentials.
Exactly.
So the Gambia we want to see will also have to include this. And also, before I allow Umar to come in to talk about the Gambia we want to see, it's important those watching us to understand that the mindsets of the people. Over the years, we have spoken about the environment must be created, the enabling environment. The environment is now created. Having gotten that, what else should be done? Because a person without a voice is not a human being at all. A human being must have a say. That is to be able to be a human being. And there is a great difference between a rat and a rabbit, even though they share some similarities. In this situation, the nuances of what I am trying to demonstrate is that the Gambia must do away from tribal politics, party affiliation, tribalism, and corruption. Those watching us will definitely would like to capture some of these things in their videos. As young people, we have a very powerful role to play in this. And this conversation is revolving around the UN United Nations 75th year anniversary. And having watched the United Nations video, the Secretary General gave a statement, and he has assured the world that, look, we have a crisis. This is an unprecedented crisis, and then what we can do post-COVID-19 is yet to come. But what are we doing to prepare ourselves for that? That includes the conversation we're having right now, the Gambia we want to see in 2045. In the words of the famous American writer Nate Silver, he said, there is no signal without noise. He wrote the book, The Signal and the Noise. So already the signal has already gone viral. Now we need to make some noise for young people. Let's begin making the noise. So Umar, yes, come in again. What Gambia exactly do you want to say?
Yeah, thank you so much. So the Gambia I want to see is actually, a sort of a state that is created in my mind already. And I wish I could print the picture from my head so people can actually see, because it goes along with great aspirations and great targets and great visions. Not just visions, but attainable ones. So the Gambia I want to see is a Gambia first of good and quality leadership. Because I believe our leadership is a driving force for every nation. And if a nation is supposed to head anywhere, either close or far, it depends on the type of leadership that is there. So I actually foresee a Gambia in 2045 rather, where we would have quality and good leadership that will be able to advance our interests, and that will be able to actually meet the basic expectations of the citizens, and also manage our affairs perfectly in a very well-mannered way, actually. So the Gambia I want to see as well is a Gambia of economic development, where everyone will be empowered financially, where job opportunities will be much, and every citizen will have the opportunity to work at a place, either by being employed or as a self-employed person. And this would not only create the basic financial demands of a person, but also help you take care of your family and equally provide revenue for this country. And with good economy, we'll be able to run our country in a better manner. Also looking at the other perspective, that is development of the art. I want to see a Gambia where art is given the highest level of respect, the highest level of value, and the highest level of appreciation. Because you will understand that even though we depend on other areas of development, art and sports, for example, are the fastest tools to actually put a nation on the map. And that is quite visible anyway. Just go on YouTube and type anything that has to do with sports, for example. So there are certain countries that are known now. It's because of sports they are known. And the more a country is known, the more they have the opportunity for partnership with other institutions, and even for partnership with other countries to be able to advance development. So another Gambia I want to see, of course, is a Gambia free from tribal politics, and Gambia free from intolerance, Gambia free from castigations and maligning of names. Because all these are fundamental pillars that help a country grow. Because if a country is faced with 1,000 challenges, with just few people trying to get the solutions to them, and what's getting the solutions, there are other people causing other fights somewhere. It means we'll have a lot of battles to fight instead of just fighting for the advancement of the country. So the Gambia want to see is actually a huge topic, and we can spend a whole day talking about it. But it's good to also make it clear to the contestants that we're not caging anyone to a particular frame. We are telling you, just look at the Gambia you want in 2025 and give us exactly what you believe you want to see in 2045 as far as the Gambia is concerned. And there is definitely no imbalance when it comes to you being from the urban area or you being from the rural area, because everyone is treated equally. And that is exactly why, I know we'll come to that later, that there is going to be a sensitization tour around everywhere in this country to make sure that information has reached everywhere it is supposed to reach, and also to put it to you that it doesn't matter what type of video facility you can actually have. For example, it doesn't matter if you're using your iPhone or an Android or using a tablet to take a video. Just make sure that the content is rich and you're able to get what you're looking for.
Thank you, Umar. You reminded me something very vital. And you and I have actually taken part in notable competitions, including the National Youth Conference and Festival, NECOF. We passed thousands of resolutions to the Gambia government to implement, one of which included the retirement age must be enforced. When you are talking for the youths, obviously you can speak for them, but there are some things that they need to do by themselves, by giving them the opportunity. So here you see people say the youth must be empowered, this and that, they're highly talented. How old are they? 65. So the retirement age must, not can, that is too small, I must emphasize, must be enforced. So at least young people who are highly talented could be given the opportunity to mobilize their productive talent and resources, you know, can showcase their potential. And having said that, however, I will soon be having Chornogay, the award-winning poet, to also give us a piece on the UN75. And let's have that piece presented first before we continue the conversation. Chorno is with us, and he's an award-winning poet, finalist of the National, Poetry Slam 2017. You have the floor, Mr. Gay.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be here. So I'll be doing something short. This is just a freestyle on the Gambia we want to see in 2045. And yeah, here we go. If the rule of law is the tool with which we grow, if justice is what truly guides our action, if democracy is the tool with which we build our nation, then the Gambia in 2045 must be a nation built in the image of our aspirations. That our dreams must come true, that the son of the farmer, the son of the minister can all be in the same university, that our education must bring liberation and not damnation, that corruption must be killed and buried, that the leaders must make and enforce their decisions in the interest of the people. The Gambia in 2045 must reflect what we deserve. That the sacrifices of the heroes who died must not have been in vain. That the fight we've been fighting for all these years must have come through. That the health sector will reflect our aspirations. That basic amenities for the basic individual must be met. That freedom of speech must be respected. That our liberties must be guaranteed. That the legal system must be speedy and justice has to be served for those who deserve it. The Gambia, by 2045, must be a nation built for the ordinary Gambian. That what we have must not only be for the top 1%, that freedom has to reflect the aspirations of our people, and peace must reign to drain the pain, erase the shame, regain the fame, and teach us all to love again. That our politics will not be dictated and directed by tribes or where we come from, but competence and the ability to push us to lift the brink of what we aspire to. The Gambia we want to see in 2045 must be a nation that embraces everyone. That gender must not be a reason why a woman cannot have the job he or she is qualified for. That okay.
Breathe. Yeah, breathe. A round of applause, a round of applause. Although we don't clap because of the coronavirus. I think my hand is observing social distancing, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
That was a marvelous piece. That was absolutely
And just to
awesome.
put it up, that was just a freestyle.
Yeah, and he didn't. What is even amazing about what he's done is that he didn't write anything. He wasn't even expecting that he will present. I just called him to do it. So he isn't actually prepared for this. But I have learned few things from what he has just said, which I think we can just hold a dialogue on right now while he actually breathes. I can't breathe. Yes, so let's talk about this, Omar. From Chorno's piece, we have noticed something. And not only did he, mention all sectors. I've heard him spoke about democracy, very fundamental. Even the rule of law must be respected. He also cited issues directly connected to our law. Yeah, even the gender equality, aspect too. So that reminds me that I must wear my gender lenses to be gender sensitive. So the ladies would like to say something about gender equality. Yes.
Oh.
Jennifer, what would you like to say or buttress? That's Fatmata smiling over there. Yes, gender equality. Let's discuss that. In fact, before you come in, let me give you figures. Writers Association of the Gambia. People will say Dr. Landrin Peters is the father, is the founder of Gambian literature. Yes, he is male. Very correct. He is excellent. He is a fighter. But people will never mention Phyllis Whitley, meaning the founder of Gambian literature was a woman. So women played a very significant role. This was a slave woman who was captured in Batos, now Banjul, and taken into the United States of America. And she was not only lucky to have a benevolent master, but in no time she read and she became a poet par excellence. And she wrote pieces of poems about the River Gambia and beauties of our country. So Phyllis Whitley was a renowned poet, and she was a woman. And this was followed by Peters, who definitely published the Gambia's first novel in 1965. Now, having given just a figure, I would like to know what actually you have to say about gender equality.
First, I think I would say what normal people say, 50-50. But at this point, I don't think it's 50-50. It could be 60-40. Because, possibly, because a lot of young people are rising, which includes a lot of women. Nowadays, we see women in markets, in offices. Everywhere, most places where men cannot be, women are. Whether homes or traveling or being heads. Look at Liberia. Their president is a woman. And when we want to talk about gender equality, it doesn't just have to deal with what we can do or cannot do. It's what we are ready to do. Because women can stand and do anything, the same way a man can, but there's a determination. You don't just start something and then think it's going to go if you're not determined. You need to maintain. And that is one quality women have. We know how to, we're determined, we know how to maintain something. We know what we can do to fight for it, to get it, and attain that conscience we have. But as a female, young rising poet, I would say gender equality might just be a myth, because where a man is, a woman can be too, wherever we may stand. Thank you.
Oh yes, Geneva, that's a great contribution. And Fatmata, what would you like to say?
I would like to say I don't believe in figures when it comes to gender equality or gender equity. I think I would rather go with gender equity, because we have a long way to go, because we are far behind. When you look at the Gambia in general, when it comes to elections, when it comes to positions in offices, you would come to realize that women are, you have some that are there, but then you have a lot that are backwards. So when you try to bring about 50-50, it brings about a lot of confusion, and then people try to believe that you are anti-men, or probably, you're not, especially right now on social media or whatever. When you start to advocate for women, people think you are anti-men. So what I believe is that in order for every nation or any nation to be there, you need to have women. Because in the first place, it is women that bring about men. It is women that reproduce men. So if we don't empower these women that are at home to actually, nurture or bring good men or women to this world, then it means that we are not going anywhere, to be honest. And we need to have more women in our political sector. Women could be better leaders. If we had a female president, trust me, we would have actually have a new face of this country. We need to try that and see what would happen, because we've had men all over these years and then we're still here. So let's try women also and see what would happen. Trust me, because when you look at this creature, it is so complicated, and it's built in such a way that we are magnificent, and we have so much inner value and so much inner cool stuff that the society or the world is not saying. Sometimes we just talk and then say, yeah, women are skillful, women are this. But do they really know how talented and skillful we are? So we are tired being vice presidents, we are tired being vices. We want to be there in the forefront and actually see what we can do exactly.
Fatoumata has just demonstrated her political zest. I never knew you were this inclined.
Hell no, I'm going to be the first. If they're not ready to be the first, I will be the first. Trust me.
Yes, and this is very crucial, Omar, because we need to start conversations around politics as well, in connection to gender. And I think the role she has just played in this conversation is very fundamental to at least send word to people listening to us, her likes, young people, women down there, to also begin to understand that they don't deserve only to be in the houses, inside the kitchens to cook. They can be on the forefront. They can hold higher positions in this country. And it all starts now. The Gambia we want to see is not, in 2045, it's not the Gambia where we still wear face masks.
Damn.
No. So we want to see a different Gambia, you know what I mean? So I'm going to allow Chorno to tell us actually what Gambia he will definitely want to see in 2045. And Chorno will also help us speak to those in the provinces, because many people are watching us and then people follow him. In fact, this reminded me that we will be having a tour to the provinces very shortly. We will go to Basi. I've never been there. So for the first time, Chorno, will you mind to tell us something?
I think the conversation has been really interesting. Emil, thank you very much. The important thing to note is that this is a very important theme. And the fact that we are having young people come out and give out their opinions, I think is a great step. I think we need to empower the young people. They need to understand that they're taking over this country very soon. All these old people talking, they will not be here when we get to 2045. Yeah, that's the truth. So if we are not part of the conversation now, then we will not be able to do what we are supposed to do. So, but to be honest, the Gambia I want to see in 2045 is the kind of Gambia that is built in the image of our aspirations. The things we keep talking about must come to pass because we have really amazing leaders who are really good at talking. Every politicians have amazing dreams. They have amazing manifestos. But what happens is when these people get there, they never do anything that reflects the interest of the of the average Gambian. So we have a problem. The gap between the rich and the poor in this country is really, really high. And the health sector is messed up. Education is a problem. Electricity is another issue. You look at transportation. Every single part of this country is affected. What are we doing to make sure this problem is solved? Nothing at all. And now we are projecting 25 years into the future. That is by 2045. What do we want to see? Now we know what we want to see. But the question, ML, I think we need to address is how do we get there? How do we get these people there? Our politics are divided among tribal lines and hanga fuma joge lam joge. So how do we make sure we get the right leaders there who will make sure the Gambia we are talking about in this very panel right now, when we get to 2045, it will be the Gambia we have. So the conversation needs to be opened a little wider. It has to capture the process of how we get there, because as long as we do not get that, what we are doing here right now is nothing more than exchanging fantasies, because it will not happen unless and until we have the right people in the right places doing the right thing. So this is the kind of Gambia I want to see, where our dreams and aspirations dictates what we have. And as for the people in the provinces, poetry is an art. It's not just an art. It is a way of life for me, and it is one of the most effective ways to communicate. And it doesn't matter whether you have been in a competition or not. This is your opportunity. It's your chance to come out and speak, because the idea is not just for us to give 12,000 to somebody who come out first, and then 10,000 to somebody who came second, and 5,000 to somebody who came third. We want to hear from the young people what they want to see in the next 25 years. That is the reason why we want thousands of people to apply. It is not just for winning, because we want to inculcate your opinions, your ideas, your viewpoints into what we want to see by 2045. We want to see what the young people aspire for this country in the next 25 years. That is the reason why we want a lot of people to apply for the competition. Forget about the prize. It's about your opinion. It is your country, and you need to have a say in it. You need to have an opinion. You must have a say in the direction in which we are heading. As far as I'm concerned, this is the reason why it is important for you to take part in the competition.
Oh yes, Chorno, very well. Ingeniously, I agree in total to what you've said, and this is really, really awesome. And Chorno, would you mind to tell those watching us that exactly how can poetry contribute to the Gambia we want to see in 2045? Poetry as a tool, spoken word poetry as a tool. How can we use that to get to where we suppose in 2045? Yes, Chorno.
One of the most fundamental elements of democracy is freedom of speech. As I said, the greatest tool of communication ever invented in the history of humanity is poetry. This dates back to time immemorial. Kings had poets in their courts. The prophets, they had poetry in their time. The Quran itself is poetic, all of it. You understand? So when it comes to how we get to the Gambia we want through poetry, in a way, this competition in itself is contributing, because what we are doing, as I said, is trying to gather the opinions and the concepts and the viewpoints of the young people to bring it to the table to see what they want to see in the next 25 years. That is in itself is a contribution of poetry to what we want to see in the next 25 years. But in another way, it empowers young people a lot. Omar is here. These people sitting here, they are all poets. We have been on platforms that are incredible, and we have stood on that stage and we have spoken as young people, and we have been listening to more than people who were invited as guest speakers or chief guest of honors. Because you see, people are tired of listening to boring speeches for 30 minutes. They don't want to hear that. They want you to come, take 5 minutes and tell us something that is educative, interesting, and add value to their lives. And that is exactly what poetry does. We never spend anything more than 5 minutes on stage, at most 3 minutes, and you are done. But what happens is, by the moment you leave that stage, the kind of impact you have left in the audience cannot be left by anybody who recites a speech of 30 minutes. This is not me talking. You can check the literature and the numbers on these things. So when it comes to freedom of speech, when it comes to advocacy, when it comes to activism, when it comes to sensitization, when it comes to sending the message across and making so people are enlightened and educated about the things going around in the country, there is no better tool. No better tool, not even music we can use. That is not poetry. Poetry is the #1 tool we can use for communication, and that is why it has been skyrocketing the way it has. I mean, in the past 4 or 5 years, it wasn't like this. Me and Omar, we used to go to events to beg people to allow us to come on stage and perform. Now we are talking about UN75, and what are we doing? Poetry is #1. They didn't say painting and poetry competition, is spoken word and painting competition. So I think this highlights the importance and the relevance that spoken word poetry has in our society, and the length to which it can help us push our developmental agendas. So as far as I'm concerned, the art, as you have been talking about, the art and the culture must not be left behind as far as we go, because science is important, technology is amazing, wallahi, but we must understand the art and the culture carries us, because it is what defines our identity. It is who we are. It represents who we are as a people, and we cannot leave that behind, because then we will be lost in the future.
Thank you very much, Chorno, and viewers, be reminded that you're watching iAfrica TV. This is the dialogue on the UN75. The United Nations is celebrating or commemorating its 75th year anniversary globally, and here in the Gambia we're holding a conversation on the UN75, on the team the Gambia we want to see in 2045. And this program is fully sponsored by the UN Gambia office in collaboration with the National Center for Arts and Culture and the Writers Association of the Gambia. Umar, in conclusion, yes, now let's talk about the prizes. Because we are not only giving people 12,000, 10,000, 5,000, that's a good amount of money. But it's not the money that matters here, it's the impact, okay? So what do you have to tell those watching us right now in conclusion, very quickly, especially, the UN has thought it is very significant to dedicate this celebration. We could have said drama, we could have used music, it could have been something else different, because we are envisioning, we want to see a Gambia where spoken word poets like you, Chornogay, etc., those doing spoken words can be millionaires through poetry. Yes, this is not something like fantasy, because ST started like us, and today he is one of the finest musicians, not so. So poetry is an art. So what would you like to say, Omar?
Thank you so much. I just want to make it very clear. I'm not sure of any other poet, but there's no way I will not become a millionaire through poetry.
Of course, man. Of
course. So I want to put it out there. I'll be a millionaire through poetry, inshallah. And I think all of us will actually become millionaire through poetry. And I'm not just saying this as fantasy or whatsoever. I'm saying this because I mean it. And I already know what we've been working on. Chema just put reference to how much we used to struggle then, going to the programs to beg for people to get us on the platform. Sometimes they even have to ask you to recite your poem to them in advance before they even put you on stage. Imagine like how that is. At times you'll be performing and they will like summarize your piece, So all of those things are things we've passed through. So coming back to the importance of this celebration through poetry itself, you understand it's a win for poetry. Like keeping in mind all the other techniques, all the other methods, all the other events and activities that could have been used as a mode of celebrating this, poetry has been chosen. So poetry has already won in the first place, right? And this is an opportunity to also expatiate, how you're able to put up poetry there and the influence of poetry and so on. 5 years ago, you'll never see someone being invited on a platform like this to even talk about poetry. It was not possible. So if you're able to have that today, it means it's a great feat. And then inshallah, the whole world will definitely know that poetry in the Gambia is actually at some next level. And I am so delighted as well by how the provinces, for example, have actually embraced poetry. I could remember there was, a TRRC outreach we had in one of these schools, and then, in most of the schools we will go to, when they mention our names, Omar Cham, Cherno, Lala, etc., those of us that were there, there will be 1 or 2 people or even a dozen that will say they know us. And that is because of the work we're doing in poetry. So that means poetry is not only stopping here, but that's, expanded to up to Basse. Even when we had our outreach at the college campus in Basse, we had people that came to us and they were showing appreciation of the work we do. And when you release an audio, it doesn't know boundaries. It can travel up to the United States of America, go to Asia, and come back and so on. The video, the same thing. So it's a good thing that young poets are taking up the opportunity to put up videos out there. No one knows where your name is going to be. And inshallah, I know the COVID-19 has actually caused a lot of trouble, but I'm sure by the time COVID is gone, you would see a lot more activities, a lot more projects, a lot of initiatives that is geared towards promoting poetry, promoting the poets, and giving you the opportunity to develop your skills, not just as a mode of creating impact in the lives of people, but also making profit from it. It's like impact creation and profit generation at the same time. We want to see poetry as an employment where you can go to school, graduate, and apply to become a poet, or become a poet and get employed, take care of yourself, your family, and everybody that is supposed to be under your watch.
Very well, Umar. You know, when I hear you speak anytime, I am being reminded three things: creativity, originality, and authenticity. Because it's like you are the replace of Dr. Tijan Sala. And Chorno is Baba Silla. These are renowned poets. Renowned, they don't only write, they are poets par excellence. So the future is already bright. Before I give the ladies to conclude, Umar, would you mind if you remind us the deadline and then how to apply so that those our viewers can get to know this?
Yeah, thank you so much. So let me remind you all that the deadline for application is the 15th September. So if you have not yet applied, please start working on your application. And this is how you apply. Write a poem on the Gambia we want to see in 2045. Record the poem in a video form. You have a choice. If you want, record the audio and put it in a video, or record a video directly. You also have a choice on what modality to use. Your phone, your laptop, whatsoever method, so long as you're able to put your content out there. Then make sure that it is within 2 minutes. If it passes even 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 second, you're going to be disqualified. So if it's exactly 2 minutes and you send it through the link that is being posted on the Facebook page, and when you do that, then you'll be able to assess you. Again, the prize is 12,000 winner, 10,000 second position, and 5,000 third position. I'm so glad to have been here. Thanks for having me, and wishing you all the best in the competition.
Thank you very much. Viewers, in conclusion, I will allow Fatmata Jallo to just say a few words of thank you to the United Nations for sponsoring this, and also to the NCAC, and also to iAfrica for creating the platform, the avenue where we can air our views, where we can reach out to thousands of viewers. Because, they are the most watched, online TV station in the country. So, Fatmata, would you like to conclude?
Exactly. Like when I actually saw the UN give us this platform, I was like, well, this is going too far. Because when you say the UN, it's like you're looking at the world. And you wouldn't actually know where your video is going to land tomorrow. With the UN and its sister agencies, as they said, it's like, whoa, it's going viral. So we cannot say for the thank you. We are saying thank you to the UN, to iAfrica TV, because they're the ones sending our image out there to the people to actually see what is going on. And to the Writers Gambia, and then the Ministry of Tourism and Culture. I think this is one of the best things that has happened to us, and we hope to have more collaborations in the future, and we hope they'll actually give us more of their projects and more of spoken word poetry out there.
Thank you very much. And viewers, this actually takes us to the conclusion of the dialogue on UN75. And this is brought to you by UN Gambia in partnership with the Writers Association of the Gambia and the National Center for Arts and Culture. I was a moderator, Modulamin A. Jalmusaf. So with me, Umar Champion Cham and Chorno Gay and Fatoumata A. Jallo and Jenna Bature. Thank you very much. Just to let you know that if you want to be part of this, you can call 720-4117 or 779-1631. It was nice having you around. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.